channel. Welcome to Not Fashion Hub, the best fashion channel in the world. Yes, today we are here again with a 6-piece skirt. That's what I'm doing today. We're going to be making a 6-piece skirt. So if I yet to subscribe to my channel, please, like I said before, hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on so that you will always be notified whenever I drop my videos. So today I'm going to teach us how to cut a 6-piece skirt, and I'm going to use a very simple method so that you will understand easily. The method I'm using is quite simple to understand. So, like I said before, if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on so that whenever I drop my videos, you will be notified. So for our 6-piece skirt, I'm going to be showing us the measurements we're going to be using. We're going to be using some measurements for our 6-piece skirt, and here are the measurements. We'll be using a waist measurement of 41. We're using a hip measurement of 48. This customer is quite big. Yeah, I want it to be real and live, so that's why I'm using the correct measurement, not a formulated measurement. I'm going to be using a fitting measurement. That is a knee measurement. A knee measurement of still 41 just as a waist. And the skirt length is 41. So before we start, I would like to make us understand something very, very crucial. When you are cutting 6 pieces, you divide your measurement by 6. Why 6? Because the skirt you are cutting is 6 pieces. The easiest way to get your 6-piece skirt done without stress is by dividing the measurement by 6. Within a short time, you are done. I don't want to give us methods that are complicated. So for instance, if you divide 41, which is the waist, by 6, you'll be having 7. If you divide the hip, which is 48, if you divide 48 by 6, you'll be having 8. And of course the knee point, which is 41, if you divide by 6, you'll still be having your 7. So as simple as that, we'll get our measurements and we are done. So don't forget, waist 41, hip 48, knee point 41, and the skirt length 42. For sake of allowance, we can use 44 here at the knee point to make it a bit free, especially when you're somebody that want it to be very tight. Yeah, you can add 3 inches there to make it a bit free. So let's proceed into our class. So to cut our 6 pieces, I'm going to use a method that we will cut this skirt once. We'll fold at once and cut the skirt. So for you to do that, this folding goes for almost all kinds of all average sizes, except the customer has a hip that is above 50. That is when you can add, but any hip that is less than 50, folding this way will give you your 6 pieces accurately. So we're going to measure this fabric. I'm going to measure it by 52, right? Yeah, measure by 52. So you see, we're measuring this by 52. When we say this is 52, we're going to fold it at this point into 2. I'm going to fold it into 2. Just watch carefully. Like I said before, it is very, very simple, much more simpler than you ever thought, and I'm going to make that happen for you to see. So like I said before, if you are watching this video and it's making sense thus far, please hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on. You can give me a thumb up. Yeah, I like that. So after folding our material into 2, we are going to fold again for the second time. You see, these are now 2 layers. 1, 2. We are going to fold it again for the second time. And there are different kind of 6-piece skirts. There are some 6-piece skirts that have a tail at the back. It's a choice. If you want your 6-piece skirt to have a tail at the back, you will cut it, giving allowance for the tail. If you don't want it to have a tail at the back, you will cut it, not giving allowance for the tail. So for this one we are cutting, should we give allowance for tail? Okay, so let's just cut and give allowance for the tail at the back. And the allowance for the tail is anything from 6 to 7 inches. It's okay. So you see this second folding I'm folding now, I've stopped here, leaving an allowance of 6 inches for the tail. Yeah, this is 5.5. I'm going to reduce it to be 6 inches for the tail. So I'm leaving 6 inches for the tail. Yeah, this is 6 inches. So if you are following me, you can tell that this is quite simple so far. We have folded our fabric into 4. We folded the first time using 52, and then we fold the second time, giving a 6 inches allowance for the tail. Please don't forget that. The next thing we're going to do now is to go ahead and take our measurement. And also very importantly, when you're cutting a wrapper that has pattern, like you see this wrapper has pattern, it's patterned, you ensure that these patterns are lined, so that when you're done with your 6 pieces, it won't appear cut irony. Alright, so that's very important. Always check and see if the wrapper you're using is patterned. Ensure that the patterns are well arranged before cutting. So without wasting time, let's go straight into the cutting of this. I'm going to be using our tape, our scissors, our short ruler, long one, our chalk, and of course our measurement. So like we said the hip, the waist is 41, and I told you that when you're measuring when you're cutting your 6 pieces, the easiest way to do is to divide your measurement by 6 in order not to confuse yourself. So let's start with our waist. The waist measurement is, we said, is 41, and we divide it by 6. We have 7. And if you look at this material is folded into 2 here, right? So I'm going to divide that 7 again by what? By 2. Are we together? So because material folded into 2 here, I'm dividing that 7 by 2. So this piece I'm cutting here is serving as our center front piece, and these 2 at the back here are serving as our center back piece. Please don't get confused. What I'm shaping out here is for the center front piece. This will serve as the center back piece. So let's start. 7 divided by 2, we have 3.5. So 3.5, we just add a ½ inch allowance to it, and we'll be using what? 4 at this point. So this is 4, right? And then we'll measure our hip, and the hip is located 8 inches from the waist. So this is our waist point. Always don't forget, before you cut anything, make sure you remove ½ inch, so as to prevent this seam, these edges of a dress from appearing into your work. When you are done, you remove ½ inch from there. So we locate our waist 8 inches from the waist. Sorry, our hip. So this is our hip point. I hope this is clear. You can see very well. So at this hip point, we're still going to locate our what? Our hip. And our hip, we said our hip is 48. And if you divide 48 by 6, you are going to be having 8. Alright? So 8, like we said, this is into 2. So 8 divided by 2, that will give you 4. Right? Plus seam allowance, that becomes 4.5. That becomes 4.5. The next thing for us to do is to locate our knee point. Now, how do you locate your knee point? You can measure your customer, or you can divide the measurement into 2 and then minus 2 inches from it to locate your knee point. But most of the times, some customers they have a point they want their 6 pieces to start flaying. Some want it to be up just immediately after the bum. So you ask the customer how the person wants the skirt to look like, so that you know where to start flaying the skirt. But the standard is you divide the length of the skirt by 2 and you minus 2 inches from it to get your knee point. So if we are going by that standard, this skirt length is 41. If you divide by 2, you're going to be having 20.5, right? If you minus 2 inches from it, you have 18.5. But I love using 18, so I'm going to use 18. I love using 18 from a half point. For measurement that are up to 40, once a skirt length is up to 40, I like using 18 as my half length. Yeah. So this is our hip. We marked our hip. We've gotten our knee point, which is 18. So I'm going to use the same measurement to use at the waist for the knee point. We used 4 here, right? That was plus the same allowance. So we're still going to use 4 here. See, we're almost done. The next thing for us to do is locate the length of this skirt. And see the length is what? Is 41, right? 41. So this is our 41 here. We have 41 right here. I hope you can see very well. Let me adjust it up. We have 41 here. Alright. So the next thing is for us to locate, to check the wideness, how wide we want our skirt to be to flay down. The standard is mostly 10, anything 9, 10, 11. Yeah, but I'm going to be using 10. I'm going to be using 10 for this skirt. So I'm going to give it a wideness of 10 for the flay point. So I'm going to mark the length of this skirt at 2 points so that we'll join to get a straight line. This is 40 and a half. We'll still mark 41 rather. We'll still mark 41 here to get the full length of the skirt. Now, if you notice, I'm marking at 41 exactly without giving hemming allowance, because the waist of this skirt will come with a 1.5 inch allowance, increasing the length of the skirt from 41 to 42.5. So when I'm sewing the skirt, I will hem it in by 1/2 inch, but still recover it when I fix my waist. That one not adding any seam allowance. I hope that is clear. So the next one I'm going to do here is now to join these 3 points, these 4 points together: the waist, the hip, the knee point, and the flay point. So let's start from here. Also, this is our fitting point. Hope this is quite simple. So we're going to join this point to this point. And 6 pieces most importantly deals with straight lines. This is very, very important. If you are cutting, that's why we use this ruler to cut our 6 pieces. If you are cutting 6 pieces skirt and you don't have a straight ruler to use, you cannot get it, because once the lines are not looking straight when you are done, you won't like it. So you must have a straight rule to use. I hope this line is clear enough for you to see. So you see, I've gotten this point from here to here. So before we join to the hip and the waist, let's finish down this way so that we can shift the fabric down here. The tail at the back is always longer than the skirt itself. So the remaining allowance here, we're going to use 3 inches from it as the tail, the extension of the tail. So this is 3 inches we're using for the extension of the tail. So we're going to mark, you see, I'm going to join this point back to this point, because this is actually the ideal length of the skirt. This is an extension for the back piece, the back center piece, which is serving as a tail for our skirt. So if you don't want to give it tail, don't worry, you don't need all of this. If you don't want to give it, even if you don't want the tail to be longer than the skirt, you can just leave it from this line. So don't get confused by this point here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join the hip, the fitting to the hip and then to the waist. So we can now use our short ruler, join the fitting point to the waist, to the hip point. I hope my chalk is clear enough for you to see. So we join this point to this point. And then one other thing we need to do is to join this point to this point, the waist point to the fitting point. You see? We have successfully joined our waist point to the fitting point. I'm repeating the line so that you can see very clear. You see? So what next we're going to do? Let's extend this our hip line to the back piece. The next thing we'll do now is to, like I told you before, this is the back center piece. So we're going to get our zip allowance here. Then we'll shape our tail. So the zip allowance we're going to give here is just 1.5 inches, okay? 1.5 inch from here, here to 1.5 inch here. When we come to this point, we give it only 1/2 inch, right? So here we give 1.5, and then 1/2 inch. So we're still going to join these points together, this point to this point, this point to this point, this point to this point. You see, the next thing we'll do now is to join this point to the end of the skirt. So we'll join this point to this point. So like I said before, if you don't want to give your skirt this tail, you can just leave 2 inches allowance for zip, that's all. But you see, giving it the tail, you can see this is the back center piece here. Look at the extension of the tail. Can you see that? It's a tail at the back. It's our front center piece. So having done that, we can now go ahead to cut our center front piece and center back piece. Now you might be asking, why did I do this here like this? Why did I have to join this point and this point, giving 1/2 inch allowance here? This 1/2 inch allowance we have here is basically for the back piece and not for the front piece. But since I'm cutting both the back and the front piece together, I'll have to give it as well to the front piece, but I'll remove it later. Just follow, don't get confused. So I'm going to cut this out now. Carefully, you cut on this line. Like I said before, if this video is making sense, please give me a thumb up. Also hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on. So here I'm going to still cut on this line here. Now let's finish from up here first. Now from here you cut here. Now one might be wondering, why use 1/2 inch here? This is the back piece. I'm trying to give it fitting. You give it fitting, all right? So that's why here we're using 1/2 inch, using 1.5 here, 1.5 here. Very, very important. So the next one I'm going to do is to cut the down part, all right? So this down part here, you see, we're going to cut we're going to cut on this line, not on this first line. After cutting on this line here, we will now trim out, because this shape here, we need it just for the back piece and not for the front piece. So I'm going to cut this excess here out of it on the front piece, just on the front piece. So you see, we have cut it, you see. So it's only the back piece, the back center piece, that is having an extension, which is the tail. Please take note, which is what? The tail. So you see, we have successfully cut our center front piece and center back piece. This is our center front piece. See, if you open it now, can you see? This is our center front piece, which is one, and then we have this as our center back piece. So let's proceed to cutting the side pieces. Like I told you before, this is very, very simple. This is the simplest method ever for cutting 6 pieces skirt. We have cut our center back and our center front, and what we are left with right now is just our 4 side pieces. That is the 2 front side pieces and the 2 back side pieces, which are 4 pieces. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. You use it to cut the side pieces, the 4 side pieces you need that are remaining. So it's quite simple and straightforward. So next one I'm going to do now is to bring our center back piece and center front piece. Look at it here. So we're going to keep it this way. Hope you can see. For us to get our side pieces now, we are going to let's take the measurement for our side pieces. Now, like I told us, when you're working with a fabric that has pattern, you'll be very, very careful to follow the pattern on that fabric. For instance, if we look at this wrapper now, there's a way I'll keep this, and then these points, these designs will not match. When I'm done making this dress, it won't be nice because the pattern on it will be mixed up. So you always try to ensure that the pattern on the fabric is aligning as you are working with the dress. So this pattern is appearing here at the waist, at the fitting point here, and then 2 points at the flare. So it's very, very important for you to do that, please. Very important for you to do that. So let's proceed. For us to get our 4 side pieces remaining, remember there's a formula that people use here. Most persons use to get. Let's extend these lines. This is our hip line, our fitting line, and our waist line. The waist line is already here. So most people minus 3 inches or 4 inches from the hip point to get their fitting point. Yes, but that I do when I discover that the customer I'm working for has, big thighs, big laps. Yes, if not, I just use my measurement from the waist at the fitting point and I'm good to go. So I'll still do that like we started. I'll use my measurement from the waist at the fitting point. So our waist, we said our waist is 42 divided by 6, that will give you 7. So we say I'm taking my measurement from this line here, so that is 7. I'll add 2 inches seam allowance, that becomes 9. This is 9. At the hip area as well, our hip is 48 divided by 6. You are having what? We're having 8. This is 8 plus 2 inches seam allowance becomes 10. I like using enough allowance on my skirt because ladies, their shapes fluctuate, so it's good to give enough allowance, please. So at this fitting point 2, we're using 42 divided by 6, that is 7. This is 7 plus 2 inches seam allowance, that becomes 9. Alright, so after we are done with taking our measurement, we got to the hip, the waist, the hip, the fitting point. The next thing we're going to do now is to join these points together. So this is the waist to the hip. I hope my chalk is clear and you can see it. And then you join from the hip to the fitting point. Then we join from the fitting point to the end of the skirt. So you see, this is where our skirt is ending. Like I told you before, this is a tail for the back. Our ideal skirt is ending here. That is 41. I want the line to be bold so you can see it clear. Alright, so you see, this is our 6-piece skirt. This is the center front, the center back, and the 4 side pieces we need. as for this I'm going to cut it exactly on this line here. So I'm going to show you something when I'm done with this 1/2 inch here, so just stay with me. I'm going to cut from here. Remember I told us this is a tail, so I'm going to fold it in. Alright, then we'll cut our skirt here. Be careful not to touch it while you cut the length of our skirts. See, that's the tail. Now is to cut this side. We're cutting outside this chop so that the line can still be there for you to see it very, very well. So you see, this is our skirt. Like I said, I'm going to trim this off. This also I think mistakenly appear in your work. It's not professional at all to have those edges appearing on your work. So this is our 6 pieces skirt. Very simple and straightforward. Now, this is our center front piece, and this is our center back piece. And we know on this side is where we have our zip allowance. So I'm going to mark it. Like for example, I'm using X here, my zip allowance area, using X here, the zip allowance area. So this is the center back. So I'm going to remove 2 pieces for the back. Two side pieces for my back 2 sides. So I'm going to move to that 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to remove 2 for the back piece. So I'll remove my 2 pieces for the back piece. Now, very importantly, all these pieces they have unique shapes. They have unique shapes. So if you don't mark, when it's time to sew, you will join the wrong side of the skirt with another one and you will have a different shape. So I'm going to use this mark here to identify this side. I use X here. I'm going to use a straight line here just to mark and identify this point, so I'll know that which is joining with which. So it means all these lines are joining with this side, so that I won't mistakenly carry this line and join with this side. Very, very important, please. So I've removed my back piece. Back piece now is 6, is 3. This is 1, 2, 3. This is center piece. These are 2 side pieces. Now, for my front piece now, look what I was telling about this. For my front piece now, you see, if you open this, you will discover that, see, it's not straight, it's curvy. Yes, there are some 6 pieces that when you sew them are curvy, but that's not what we're designing here. We are making it straight, because if you leave it like this, it means your skirt will form a curved shape both in front and the back, and that will not be fine, because a skirt is supposed to be flat in front and then form a shape at the back for the buttocks, for the bum bum. So we're going to remove this 1/2 inch here for the front piece and leave it on the back piece, so that when you sew it, so this allowance here helps you by the time you are sewing your 6 pieces skirt. If you use this allowance here, this 1/2 inch allowance here, by the time you sew it, even before the customer wears it, you see the shape of the buttocks forming inside that skirt before even the customer wears it. So by the time the customer wears it, it becomes automatically fitted. So the same thing I'm going to mark here. I'll mark this point here. I'll mark this point, mark this point, mark this point, so that I won't mistakenly carry this point and join to this point this side. So if I were to open this, you will see that this is my 6 pieces. So this is the front piece. Alright, see? This is my 6 pieces. You can see that. So the front piece is flat here. But if I bring this, the back piece, and I join, you discover that it will shoot here because of that ½ inch I removed. It will shoot there, creating space for the bum even before the customer wears their skirt. So that is the uniqueness of that ½ inch right there. So if you like this video made sense, please hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on, so that when I drop a video on how to join a 6-piece skirt, you will be notified and you will quickly come and watch. Thank you so much. Welcome to Nat Fashion Hub, the best fashion channel in the world. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Thank you.